Hello, everybody. Welcome to this bonus episode. One thing we like to pride ourselves on our Office podcast versus the other Office podcasts is that we're talking about the DVDs, and the DVDs have special stuff on them that aren't on Netflix. And so we wouldn't miss out on talking about the last few things that were on the season 8 DVDs before we move on to all of season 9. So let's get started. What do we have up first, Katie?
So we have a few things on this DVD extras. We have some webisodes, so let's talk about those first. We get really two separate webisodes here, although they kind of have to do with the same storyline. So Subtle Sexuality is the name of Aaron and Kelly's, and kind of Ryan and Andy's, apparently, band as well. And they are in the process of coming out with a new single and coming out with a new music video. So in the first one, it's sort of a documentary style webisode where Kevin is doing this commentary and this documentary on the story of Subtle Sexuality, which, as I said, predominantly includes Aaron and Kelly, but apparently also includes Ryan and Andy, and it lists Kevin, the commentator, as a local music critic, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, he's credited as Scranton music critic. Kelly is credited as lead vocalist. Aaron is credited as other band member. Andy is credited as the Nard Dog. And then Ryan isn't even named Ryan. He's named Mr. Understood. And he's credited as collaborator.
Right. So we start with looking back at 2009. And Kelly says that she and Aaron didn't care if they were singing pop or if they were singing rock. They just wanted to be original. So they tried doing what Lady Gaga and Rihanna were doing. Because clearly it's working for them. And we learned that Subtle Sexuality actually did perform in public a little bit. They performed at some bar mitzvahs and a DARE assembly, and they even sang the national anthem at a Wilkes-Barre hockey game. So they have performed in public a bit, and they are, according to Ryan, the collaborator, blowing up. He says that there was a time in his life where everywhere he went, he would hear one of Subtle Sexuality's songs, Male Prima Donna. He said he heard it everywhere. At his mom's house, at his dad's house, at Kelly's sister's house party.
That's everywhere, yeah.
That's everywhere that he goes.
But then at that point, that's when Kevin tells us that drama struck the group. Aaron says there was a time where they showed up at a record company to sing, but it turned out it was a record store, and the security made them leave. Kelly says, you mentioned that they sang at a Wilkes-Barre hockey game, and hundreds of people showed up just to watch them sing. But then they performed at a Holiday Inn karaoke bar and got booed off stage. Kevin says at this point things got even worse. Ryan says he didn't know what it is, but he knew Andy didn't have it, so they kicked him out of the band. And Kelly asked her Magic 8 Ball, "Are we ever going to have another hit single?" And the answer given by the 8 Ball was, "My reply is no." So she says, the old saying is right, never take no as an answer. And so that is introducing their new song called Girl Next Door. And Kelly is a star as the girl next door, which I know is hard to believe, to envision Kelly as the everyday girl next door. But she says, I'm a good actress. And so Aaron is playing the pretty popular girl instead. And Ryan is playing the jock that Kelly and Aaron are both obsessed with. He says, I studied with a private acting coach for 3 months to nail the role. Just playing. I clearly didn't have to reach that far. And meanwhile, while they're talking about the new song, Andy has brief talking heads where he's like, "Yeah, I'm excited about the song." "Oh, they already shot it?" And then another one is just him sort of like laughing sarcastically, exaggeratedly. And then he says, "Wait, who's choreographing?" And so Andy has been removed from the band, but maybe he wasn't fully told that he was removed from the band.
Yeah. And then my last addition maybe is that when Ryan says that he studied for 3 months, he says he's going to play the hot jock that Aaron and Kelly are obsessed with, and that he studied for 3 months to nail the part. Just kidding, I clearly didn't have to reach that far. I think that was because he thinks that both Kelly and Aaron are obsessed with him already.
Yeah.
So he feels that he already is the part. And then we have the Girl Next Door music video as the second webisode. Pretty fun. Not a whole lot to discuss as far as, I mean, Kelly is the dorky girl next door. Ryan's the jock. Aaron's the pretty and popular girl. They are somehow both in high school and in a functioning paper products office. At the same time, Ryan's wearing a letter jacket. Kelly's on a customer service call. Erin is wearing only cocktail dresses and diamonds and always has a fan in her face blowing her hair. And in the video, Ryan chose Erin, the hot, rich, skinny girl who turned out to be a bad mother and who was always late, he says. And Kelly, of course, died of a broken heart because not being with Ryan will kill you. And an elderly Ryan, although it's only 40 years later, so he's probably only like 60, but he's portrayed as this very elderly man, regrets not choosing the girl next door, of course. But she's dead, as he goes on to say many times.
Some of the lyric highlights for me, they're not on the nose at all. Kelly is singing, "I'm just the girl next door, but that's how it goes. You only see me as one of your bros." And then Erin responds, "I'm rich and I'm skinny and I have high self-esteem. People say that I could be a pageant queen." Erin also says, "I've got 2,000 friends on Facebook because that's important." And Kelly's response to that is, "I eat a ham sandwich alone in my office nook." Erin says, "My blessed family won the lottery." Kelly says, "And my lame one lives in poverty." And it's just, my favorite part is when, you know, at the start of the music video, before the song actually starts, Kelly and Ryan are playing checkers together. And then Ryan leaves her when he sees Erin walk in looking all hot. And so during the bridge later, when he's the elderly man singing about his regrets of not choosing the girl next door, he lays a checker piece on her gravestone.
Yeah.
And then there's also one moment where Erin is holding a cigarette to look cool, but it's unlit and it's backwards. So
It's the wrong way, yeah.
Yeah.
The next bonus material for season 8 is the Super Bowl promos. So this was Super Bowl 46, and The Office shot several commercials for the Super Bowl, some of which were played at the Super Bowl itself, or were to be played at the Super Bowl. I cannot say whether or not that happened, as I was not there. But these were for the fans who were sitting in the seats. So the first one is a commercial. It looks like that one was maybe played on air, on TV. Kevin tells Jim that he's excited to see the sexy Super Bowl commercials, and Robert California scoffs. He says those commercials are so obvious. What's sexy about underfed women strutting around in bodysuits with logos on them? Kevin points out, what you just said, that's sexy. That's the sexy part. Robert says it would take a different kind of commercial to interest him. Say, a young lady, mid-20s. No, mid-60s. No, late 60s. He says everywhere she goes, men fall to their knees, lusting after her. She drops her groceries, because she's grocery shopping, and sees the camera and leans down to get the groceries and in a seductive manner, and she calls the viewer by name. And Kevin rightly asks, how could the ad be different for each person? How could it call each person by name? And Robert doesn't know, because he doesn't watch TV. Yeah, so that was that first one.
The second one is titled Dip. Kevin has made a 46-layer dip, and so he starts walking us through the layers. There's refried beans, ground beef, super salsa, bacon, graham cracker, bacon, 7-layer dip, but all in one layer, garden burger, turkey burger, beef burger, grilled cheese sandwiches. And at this point, Andy walks in and interrupts him. And he says, "Kevin, I need that report by 5." And Kevin's like, "Oh, now I have to start all over." And so he does start all over. But the important thing here is that this looks and sounds disgusting.
Yes. Yes. The rest of these are presumably played for the Super Bowl fans at the game.
Mm-hmm. And they're mostly out of character, too.
Yeah, these are by the actors. So Ed Helms and Ellie Kemper are hyping people up. The Super Bowl is going to happen, and you're right there, and it's going to happen right in front of you. You should be more excited. You don't seem very excited. Nah, they're excited. So it's just sort of like a hype ad to get people ready for the game.
Right. And next, we have one that's titled Museums. Rain introduces himself as the star of NBC's The Office, and he introduces John Krasinski, who's there with him, as Joey Krasislinski, professional bowler. John just like, nope, a very Jim moment. Then Rain says, Indianapolis has so many amazing museums. There's the Children's Museum, the Museum of Native American and Western Art. And John interrupts him and says, I think everyone's pretty focused on the Super Bowl right now. And Rain says, oh, well, they're missing out because there are plenty of tickets available. There are no lines. All you need to do is give up your seats and run out to one of the many museums. John's like, yeah, I don't think that's going to work. And so
he just wants your seats.
Yeah, Rain sits there looking disappointed, and John just says, enjoy the game.
The next one is titled Post Game. Ed Helms tells people at the game to stay in their seats after the game for the post-game celebration, which includes the presentation of the trophy, as well as interviews with the players and coaches. This one was pretty straightforward.
I love it in that one. He says, savor the moment, because who knows when the next Super Bowl is going to be.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, oh, but it's going to be in a year.
It's going to be in a year. But still.
And then the last one in this set is titled Bigger Fan, and it's just lots of the cast members saying, I'm a fan. There's a couple like Daryl and Aaron who are super excited. Angela seems kind of offended, like, I'm a fan. Like, yeah. Oscar says, I'm a fan. And he's like, wait, is this for the opera? And then Jim and Dwight start arguing about who's the bigger fan. And it ends with Dwight saying, just shut your face. And Jim says, you have a bigger head. Maybe not a bigger fan, but you've got a bigger head. So that's the Super Bowl.
This one seemed a bit more in character.
Yeah, that one was.
And lastly, there was the blooper reel. Now, go definitely watch the blooper reel. Hard to really talk about a blooper reel on a podcast, but we're going to point out some of our favorite moments, maybe just 3 or 4. When Andy is blowing up the balloon animal for Meredith, now I completely forget the context here in the series, what he had a balloon animal for. Do you remember?
I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Either. I'm not sure.
But they're in the conference room, and it's the line that he says in the episode. He says, if you could choose any balloon animal that's either a dog or a snake, what would you pick? Because those are the only ones he can make. And he chooses a pink balloon. And, of course, balloons are long, and you shape them. And a pink balloon ended up looking very phallic. And so everyone just died laughing because it was unintentionally not very PG.
I think it was from a deleted scene because I'm not seeing anything on office quotes.
I think that's probably right.
Anyways, I was losing it over watching John losing it over Rain grabbing his crotch several times in the episode Pam's Replacement, because he's tried to figure out if, well, I don't need to explain it, but it's the scene where Rain is trying to grab John's crotch, and there's several takes of it happening, and then just both like cannot keep a straight face.
There's this one that I wish that they had gotten, and maybe they did, and I'm just not remembering it. I didn't do my homework here. When Daryl to Toby says, hit the road, Jack. And Toby, in the wimpiest voice, just says, no, you hit the road, Jack.
That was so great.
And Craig Robinson just cannot handle it. He's like, that was so good. You have to do it again.
Yeah, I wish they'd kept that in too, but they didn't. There's another one of Rain and John just losing it over trying to get Brian Baumgartner off of Dwight's desk. It's the planking from episode 1 where Kevin is on Dwight's desk and they have to try and pull him off together. And so Rain keeps making all these comments about the size of Kevin, and they're trying to like get a grip and pull him off. And there's at one point where Brian says, yep, I don't bend that way. You can't pull me that way.
And my last one is sort of a 2-parter, so I'll have it be my last one. When Kelly, Mindy Kaling, when she wants Jim to set up Kathy with his friend Mike Tibbetts, when Kelly and Pam are doing this whole game of trying to get Jim to pick what friend he would set Kathy up with, Mindy cannot stop laughing at the line, if he would do something with his hair, because he has no hair. What is he supposed to do with his hair? That's not fair to like... Well, if he could just try something, if he could grow his hair... And Jenna is also very pregnant in this take, and it looks like she just can't handle it because she's like about to pee or something. She's laughing really hard. And then kind of the same joke with Mike Tibbetts. John cannot get through his line suggesting that Kathy get set up with Mike Tibbetts because all he sees now is that guy's face. And just, he was mad at Jenna for showing him the picture of the actor or of the model or whoever that played Mike Tibbetts, because now all he sees is that face. And he's like, I didn't need to know that because now I laugh. It was just a great duo.
Yeah, and then my last one was, or the last one to mention now. There's 20 minutes of this, guys. You got to go watch it. At the fundraiser episode, the silent auction, Dwight takes the clipboard and he says, it's $180 for jiu-jitsu classes. Kevin in the episode speaks up and says, Dwight, you don't understand. He tries to explain it, but in this this blooper, he calls him Rain, and he realizes what he did, and he just sort of stops and sort of like droops his head a little bit, and Ray just stares at him wide-eyed, like, what did you call me? And there are several actual deleted scenes of people getting called by their actor names rather than their character names, and they're all really funny.
I got inspired after watching this and just felt like watching some more bloopers of other shows. So I watched Parks and Recs.
Oh, nice.
Blooper reels. And incredible, but also they do the same thing. They just end up calling everybody. I assume that this is a pretty common problem, just calling actors by their names rather than their character names.
Yeah. And so that's it, everybody. That's all the bonus material that was on the season 8 DVDs. We've talked about it all now. Remember, The Office isn't going to be on Netflix forever. You got about another year and a half, so maybe pick up the DVDs, watch these things for yourselves. Or there's always the Office YouTube channel as well. They post stuff there all the time. So who knows, maybe eventually it'll all be there as well. But in the meantime, we're glad to have talked about it. We'll be back continuing with season 9 next week. Bye.